Welcome to Light in the Attic's Liner Notes podcast. My name is Hunter Lee. I'm a musician, historian, recording engineer, and a Grammy-nominated record producer. I started working with Light in the Attic Records in 2007 as a co-producer of the Lee Hazlewood archival series, and I'm currently co-producing the Nancy Sinatra archival series. I had the honor to sit down with Nancy and her friend and longtime keyboard player Don Randy to talk about all the amazing recordings they made. Nancy and Don met 60 years ago on the day they recorded These Boots Are Made for Walkin. A sincere thank you to Nancy, Don, and Light in the Attic Records for making this podcast happen. Nancy Sinatra is a musical force, a fashion icon, and a trailblazing businesswoman. She's a performer that always gives 100% and is often her own toughest critic. She might be most well known for her biggest hit song, but when you look a little deeper, there is so much more to her story. In the 1960s, she created a special blend of pop music with producer Lee Hazlewood, arranger Billy Strange, and the Los Angeles session musicians known as the Wrecking Crew. Nancy's first hit single, These Boots Are Made for Walkin', became an instant global smash in 1966. An unbelievable string of magical tracks like Bang Bang, Summer Wine, Sugar Town, You Only Live Twice, and Some Velvet Morning followed. The Nancy Sinatra archival series from Light in the Attic Records has been celebrating her work with a series of deluxe reissues. Her 1967 albums, Sugar and Country My Way, the 8th and 9th installments of the series, were released in November of 2024, with more on the way. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Nancy and Don Randy, her keyboard player for more than 50 years. Don played keyboards on some of the most amazing recordings of all time, including the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations and God Only Knows, Phil Spector's productions Be My Baby and You've Lost That Love and Feeling, Love's Forever Changes album, and he's also performed on more of Nancy's recordings than any other player. We looked back at her fascinating career, the hits, the misses, what kept her going, and how music has changed over the years. The song in the background is Nancy's 1968 single, 100 Years. And yes, there's no doubt that people will still be listening to Nancy Sinatra's records in 100 years.
I'm not gonna take second best. I've got no use for the rest. World, you better hear what I say. 'Cause for me, true love could be.
My dad started the label, and I said I'd like to give it a shot. He said, okay, try it, but if you don't pay for your sessions, you won't be able to stay on the label. You have to make enough money to stay on the label.
When you recorded with Tootie, did anything ever happen with those?
No, they were only released in places like Spain.
I know you belong to somebody else, but tonight you belong to me.
I was with Tutti Camerata. We made some recordings that were played in different countries in the world, but we never got any airplay in this country. And with Tutti, I was up here like that, singing like a little girl. And Jimmy gave me more appropriate songs for my age and my voice, which I don't have at this point right now. He sort of lowered everything.
There is only one answer to it all.
I think Jimmy wanted to be very helpful, and he was. We did a recording of True Love that's still one of my favorites.
I give to you and you give to me true love, true love.
He was helpful, but the best gift he gave me was giving me to Lee.
That's what you call a true executive producer. Knows who to put
Yeah.
the right people with the right, with the right artist.
That's right.
That's a talent. That really is a talent.
He just felt it would work, and he was right.
Yeah.
God knows.
Babe, goodbye and so long. I hope someday somebody listens to your song.
So the first track you recorded with Lee, which Don was not on, I don't think, was So Long Babe.
Which we called So Long Abe. So Long Abe.
I played it a million times.
How did that track feel compared to a lot of the earlier stuff? Did it seem like the right direction right away, or was it just a new thing to try for you?
Listen, I had tried so many different things that I was ready to give up, pretty much. And Lee said, if I don't get her on the charts with the first record, you can fire me. And we reached, I think, number 98 in the top 100.
It was
God.
the start.
Here I am, all alone and crying. Blue.
I did want to ask you, I've talked to you about acting in movies, and you told me you didn't like it at all, and you were doing it before Boots hit to get gigs.
I had a $300 a month mortgage. No money coming in, nothing. I mean, I did not, contrary to what people imagine, I was not getting an allowance from my father. And so $300 a month was a lot of money to pay, and I needed to get a job. It was that simple.
I've seen the Golden Gate in San Francisco Bay.
For someone who doesn't know who Lee Hazlewood is, how would you describe him?
A shit kicker,
Cantankerous son of a bitch.
grumpy. No, he was
He also had a great sense of humor. He did.
terrific.
Well, that brings us to November 19th, 1965, which was, an important day for multiple reasons. The first time you two ever worked together on a session, I believe, and also the day you recorded These Boots Are Made for Walkin.
Never forget it. It was exciting. It was very exciting.
Well, we had such a great little band. And all those guitars sitting in a row. Al Casey and
Donnie Owens.
Donnie. Lee went after what he called the dumb sound. And dumb it wasn't, but it was the dumb sound that he wanted for that recording. And it was mostly just rhythm, chunk.
Let's keep it nice and easy, Billy. We're rolling. Boots Are Made for Walking. Take one. And quiet hush, please, everybody. I want to get 17 takes, 4/6.
Here we go. Very quiet. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Lee told him what to do.
Yeah.
Lee played the
The guitar.
descending
Yeah.
note on the guitar, which you can't do because of all the frets.
Yeah.
But Chuck picked it up immediately and made that whole thing
Oh, yeah.
work.
You know, Chuck tells, no matter who he's working with, Johnny Williams, some famous Michelle Legrand, whoever it is, at some point doing the movie call, Chuck, could you just do it one time? And he has to do it, you know?
Yeah.
His claim to fame.
Well, it's funny when you listen to that session. It was the third song recorded that day, and it felt like it was just kind of a throwaway. It was only about 20 minutes total was spent on Boots that day that got that master.
I bet we all knew.
Oh, it was.
There was a feeling in the room. We just
No.
knew it.
That was one of the few times, you know,
Yeah,
that you when as it was going down, you just sat there.
I knew it twice. I knew it then, and I knew something stupid. It's a good feeling.
It's a woman's song. It's not a man's song. It's a woman's song.
Oh,
And it
Lee
was-
made me so mad.
You know, it's the first woman's rights song when you think about it.
He said, I want to do it. I want to do the song. I said, you can't do this song. You're crazy to do this song. You've got to let a girl sing this song. It's not for a man. We had a big argument about that, but he let me do it. But that's why it was at the end of the session. And
That's right. She had
jammed
a
in.
fight for it. She did. I was there. I watched them arguing over it.
Well, part of the reason I was so adamant about it was when he played that for me, we were at my mother's house. We were in the bar, and my dad was sitting in the living room reading or something. And afterwards, listening to Lee pick out different songs on his guitar, including Boots, my dad took me aside. He said, it's the one about the boots. I said, I know. He knew.
He knew. Wow. That's wild.
It's the one about the boots. I mean, who wouldn't know hearing that? Dung, 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 dung. You know right in the first few
No,
notes.
sure. And that's the uncanny part of Lee Hazlewood, you know, because he was uncanny. he could hear things a certain way that a lot of people would never even
But he
attempt.
didn't want to give it up.
Yeah, I know.
He liked doing it himself.
Tough one.
But it would have never had the power
No way.
without you doing that.
Absolutely.
I mean, sometimes I call Lee Hazlewood an accidental feminist because he's, written
I
this.
like that.
Well, he gave, with LHI Records, he gave Susie Jane Hokum
Yeah.
bands to produce, and he wrote this song that became such an empowering song for women.
I think he was shocked.
I think you're
I mean,
right.
it went to number one in, 3 weeks or something?
Yeah.
Or maybe sooner, quicker.
That was being the studio musician and you're doing sessions like that, and the first session I do with Nancy, and then, what was it? I forget when I'm driving in my car and I said, I'm on that album, I'm on that record, whoa, And then for months after that, I mean, till finally, they played that song to death because everybody wanted to hear it. Wonderful.
So Boots came out and you cut your debut record, your first record, in January of 1966. Pretty much in one day, the rest of the record. And you covered songs by the Beatles, the Kinks, the Rolling
You
Stones.
mean the album?
Yeah, the album Boots. Who were some of your favorite artists in the 60s that inspired you?
That's a good question.
My all-time favorite always was Johnny Mathis. The Beatles, definitely. The Stones, Ruth Brown, and what's the other one? Laverne Baker. They were so soulful and so good. I loved them.
I have to tell you something about Nancy. She has always been more aware than anybody I know of other singers. That you'll start talking about it, and sometimes she would be talking about a singer, and I had never even heard of them. And I think I'm supposed to know, you know. But she turned me on to Sade. She turned me on to the Polish, with a girl from Poland that had that big hit record a few years ago. Turned me on to that one. Phoebe Snow.
Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
Well, but it's good
These
music.
people are fabulous.
It's good music.
You came by at 2 o'clock. You should have been by at 10. I stayed by at 3 o'clock, and I ain't coming back again. Whoa, how does that grab you, darling? How does that mess your mind? How does that grab you, darling? This girl is leaving you behind.
It's kind of inconceivable nowadays, or even in recent history. Less than a month later, after recording your debut album, you're back in the studio working on How Does That Grab You? And on that record, there's the track Sand, your very first duet with Lee Hazlewood.
I love it.
How did it come about that there would even be a duet on the record?
Lee recorded it prior with Susie Jane Holcomb. He used to play me the records he made with Susie. And I just knew we could do a better job. And needless to say, we did.
On Sand, you have the first ever backwards guitar solo before the
Because we
Beatles. by a
didn't
month.
have a sitar.
Could you tell that story of trying to find that sound on the solo?
Well, Don probably knows it better than I do, but Lee wanted the sitar sound, the Ravi Shankar sound. And we didn't have a sitar in all of Los Angeles. He searched. And then I think it was Glenn said, let's do this part and play it backwards. Pretty sure that was Glenn.
I remember it was the first time that they had ever tried that, you know. Pretty amazing, isn't it? To even think of that, let alone do it.
I was 5 and he was 6. We rode on horses made of sticks. He wore black and I wore white. He would always win the fight. Bang, bang, he shot me down. Bang, bang, I hit the ground. Bang, bang, that awful sound. Bang, bang, my baby shot me down.
On your album, How Does That Grab You, the last track on the record, Bang Bang, was unlike anything that you had done at that point. How did it come about, that sparse arrangement?
I loved the song. I loved Cher's version of it. But I felt it should be more poignant. And Billy, just one day at the end of a session, started ding, 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 and that's it. Let's do it. And we did it. It was the end of a session. We threw it on tape, and that was that.
And you know how hard it is for guitar players to match the vibrato that he had on was the Fender amp, but he had that thing that resonated with your voice.
Tremolo,
The
yeah.
tremolo, yeah. It would be tremolo?
Yeah.
Or it would
Yep.
be the tremolo. It's so important, you know, and it worked.
Oh, God, I love that track.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember how it became so important, but it did. Oh, Quentin Tarantino.
Yes, yeah.
He loved it and used it in Kill Bill. And that put it on the map. All teenagers discovered it, and it's like I was...
Oh, sure. You had a whole new audience after that, yeah.
I wasn't an old lady anymore.
The timeline on this is crazy as I learned it, but after you finished How Does That Grab You, after you recorded Bang Bang, 2 weeks later you go to Europe to promote How Does That Grab You, Darling, the single. And you and Lee and Billy Strange planned to record your third record. You're like, let's do a third record of 1966. And you recorded Nancy in London.
Johnny Harris, yeah.
We ended up doing a lot of stuff with Tom Jones, too, didn't he, that Johnny Harris arranger?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Strawberries, cherries, and an angel's kiss in spring. My summer wine is really made from all these things.
What did you think of the duet Summer Wine?
I am drawing a blank on how we did Summer Wine.
It's a beautiful song. That whole song and arrangement and her vocal on it is incredible. It's one of the best ones.
Well, Lee has the better part because he tells the story, and
Yes.
his lyrics change every time. Mine are the same, boring.
Strawberry too.
I got screwed on that one.
Phaedra is her name.
Strawberries, cherries, and an angel's kiss in spring. My summer wine is really made from all these things. I got some troubles, but they won't last. I'm gonna lay right down here in the grass. And pretty soon all my troubles will pass. 'Cause I'm in Sugar Town.
That brings up, the fourth record you recorded in 1966, which is crazy for anybody. The Beatles weren't recording 4 records a year. You recorded Sugar in November of 1966, which, you had a hit with Sugartown, one of your biggest.
In those days, if you had a hit single, you backed it with an album as soon as possible. But Lee couldn't figure out songs to put with Sugartown. I mean, what songs go with Sugartown? So he made a blunder, I think, by doing the Dixieland stuff.
Vagabond shoes, why did you roam? Why did you take me far from home? Far from the hills and the winding stream.
It didn't work. It didn't work for him, it didn't work for me. I thought it was a big mistake. But Ron Joy did a cover photo that we thought would help at least kick it into the public's ken.
Yeah.
Then we put a scrim over it because it was too blatant.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite a thing. But all those stupid damn songs, Sweet Georgia Brown. And
Became, well, you named it, became a Dixieland album.
yeah, it was a big mistake all the way around.
Great big change around.
In retrospect, it's easy to, but I think had he been a little more open to other people writing songs for you also at that point, instead of him having to do everything, probably would have made you feel a lot better and would have been more successful for the albums.
Well, he went the total opposite with Sugar.
Yeah.
And those songs, Limehouse Blues.
Yeah.
Who sings Limehouse Blues? It's the same.
Oh, Limehouse Kid. Oh, 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 Limehouse Kid.
going the way that the rest of them did.
It's a strange record. I like some of the songs off of it, and I think Sugartown's really catchy and you know.
Really? I hate that song. I hate it.
One night before we're going on, just as the girls are already going, and Nancy looks at me, she says, "I'm not singing Sugartown," and walked away from me. And I kept waiting. I said, "Oh, what do I do now?"
Did I do that?
Yes. Oh, Jesus.
How risque was that cover at the time?
Very. It was banned in Boston, as I recall. They would not sell it.
I mean, I think that might have been the first ever album cover to feature a bikini on it.
I don't know. We were pretty desperate. We were.
Oh, boy. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, we were.
You were?
With that piece of shit album he put together, it was so bad.
Jesus.
What are those other songs that nobody sings ever? Button up your overcoat. Come on.
Did we did some of those in a couple of shows that we were doing live, but not very many. I just one or two of them that I can recall. They just weren't, they weren't that much. But I remember Sugartown, the audience absolutely loved that song. And sometimes she'd go out in the audience.
I'd have them sing it because I didn't
and have
want
them
to.
sing it. Here, and they would sing it, and everybody knew the song.
I'd stick a mic in somebody's face. Sure.
It seemed like that album was maybe a miss in trying to come up with more records in such a short period of time. But with 1966, I mean, you had huge, multiple hits, made multiple records, traveled all around. It seemed like you achieved your dream that you had been trying for 5 years. Do you remember, were you happy at the time? Did you feel like you had achieved your, some of your goals that you had dreamed of?
What came after that?
Country My Way.
Then I was happy.
I gotta get while the getting's good, baby, get while the getting's good. Out of your life.
That album made me very happy.
Whose idea was it to do a country record?
Well, I always liked singing country songs. They're easier to sing, they flow. It's my favorite.
Yeah, a lot of them were good story songs, too. They told a story on a lot of those songs.
I remember the vocal group. They were so good.
Walk through this world with me. Go where I go.
Jackson is from Country My Way.
We got married in a fever, hotter than a pepper sprout. We've been talking about Jackson ever since the fire went out. I'm going to Jackson.
For a lot of people, still today, your version is the definitive version of that song.
Yeah, funny, isn't it? The June Carter and Johnny Cash.
Yeah. I didn't even know that he had recorded that before you guys, till after we did it.
We stole it.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
But we stole it as a B-side. We didn't expect it to
supposed
be
to
a
be in the
smash.
album. Yeah, exactly. But you guys did it well. It was a happy.
I doubt it.
Yeah. When you did
I love
that
how
live,
he
it
said
was,
that.
Yeah.
I doubt it. They'll laugh at you and Jackson. I doubt it.
back to England in 1967 to record a James Bond theme, You Only Live Twice. I think one of the best, if not the best, James Bond theme, in my opinion.
Oh, man, thank you.
And I love John Barry. I know you're a huge John Barry fan.
I love him. And Leslie.
How did the opportunity arise to record a James Bond theme?
I think it was John asking me if I would like to do a theme for the You Only Live Twice movie. I said, well, why don't you get Shirley Bassey? That's, it's way above my range. He said, I'd like you to do it. And Leslie agreed, and so, and Cubby Broccoli, who produced it, the movie, was delighted because he was a good friend of my dad's, and it was like, hey, you're gonna do it, so I did it. Oh man, I was scared to death. First of all, the studio was filled with, I don't know, 100 maybe?
The string players, the whole orchestra.
Of the finest symphonic players in London. And John said, would you feel better if we do a track and you can put your voice on later? I said, yes, please. So that's what they did.
But didn't we do another version with Billy?
We did.
We did.
Because Lee said, it's beautiful, but it's not commercial.
Yeah.
So we need to make it commercial.
We did one here, because I remember
playing on it. We got the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
You only live twice, or so it seems.
It was scary.
Well, I could imagine. Gee whiz.
It was really scary. And John told me afterwards, John Barry, he said, well, I had to piece it all together. He said, but we got a take.
Oh, that's good.
I gotta get out of this town. I gotta go someplace. I gotta get out of this town.
Your next project was pretty ambitious. It was Moving with Nancy, a great television special that was reminiscent of, A Hard Day's Night and the Monkees show. It was like your own wacky 1967 adventure that is so cool. How did that project come about?
Jack Haley. 2 words, Jack Haley. I called Jack. I said, I want to do, Royal Crown has asked me to, and I want to do a TV special, which they will sponsor. They only gave us $200,000. Jack said, that's not very much money. I said, well, it's all we can have. And I said, I want to pay attention to the title and keep it moving, and I'd like to do it up and down the coast of California. And Jack said, okay, I'll do it. I wanted him to produce it. He said, okay, I'll do it if I can direct it. I said, of course you can direct it. So we started that amazing project.
See the little children laugh and sing, laugh and sing.
It was the best thing I ever did.
That was a pretty good-sized band, too, that we used on that.
So we started out, and Jack said, I'm going to get my Walper crew, because he worked with David Walper. And he got Villas Lapinex, who's the camera guy, who's absolutely brilliant. And between Jack and Villas, we got all those amazing videos. I called them videos, but there was no such thing as videos then. They didn't exist. But Moving with Nancy is a group of wonderful, marvelous movies known as videos today. It was the most incredible experience. And when we celebrated the airing of it, my dad hosted a party at Chasen's restaurant. And we had the screen set up, and we had the projectionist there with the film. It was all done on film, which was unheard of. 16 millimeter, not 35, because we couldn't afford anything more than 16. And we showed the video on the screen, and Dean was in it, and he was there in the room. Dean played my fairy goduncle, and Dean said later, he said, my part was the best.
Uncle Dean.
Bless his heart.
Ha ha ha.
Thinking about the things we used to do.
Think about things,
Like a walk in the park,
things,
like a kiss in the dark.
things.
Your vocal chemistry with Lee, how would you describe that sound of your...
We called it Beauty and the Beast.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember you saying that before, come to think of it.
Sand is my favorite all-time duet. So evocative.
It's not mine. You know which one I love. Some Velvet Morning.
Oh,
That's such an outstanding piece of music too. And you guys sang so well on it. The arrangement on that is incredible. Everything worked.
well, that was Lee going from 4/4 or 2/4 to 3/4,
yeah.
back and forth, back and forth. That's why everybody who thought he was really dumb didn't realize what he was.
Moving with Nancy is where Some Velvet Morning made its debut. It
Yeah.
was fantastic. That video is so good.
Yeah. That butterfly, it's like was on cue. It just flew into the
Yeah.
scene.
Oh, lovely.
Phaedra is mine.
Yeah.
It's nonsense.
Surreal and trippy and weird, and people are still wondering after all these years, what is that song about? How did you feel when you first heard the track?
Well, first of all, I loved it. I thought Billy did a wonderful job going back and forth. And secondly, the filming of it was so perfect. But Jack was brilliant. May he rest in peace. God, we've lost so many people.
Don, on that recording, we talked about the time signature change,
Yeah.
going to 3/4 in the chorus for Nancy's part. Originally, I read somewhere Lee intended on editing that part, recording the parts separately. Was that the case?
He originally said that, and I think Billy talked him out of it. He said, no, we can do it.
We can just go from one to the other.
And Billy was not the number one conductor of all time, you know.
He was just learning.
Learning,
He
you
was teaching himself as he went along.
But it ended up really working well. And I think because of that you had that extra tension. The tension was there, and we all had to concentrate. You know, this wasn't another Jackson, you know. 3 chords. See you later.
I mean, that's especially in the outro of that song where it goes back and forth. Like,
Sure.
you have to really count. But I mean, that's a pretty big evolution in your sound and Billy's arranging from 1965 to just 1967. You know, barely 2 years, a year and a half, and you go from Boots and So Long Babe to Some Velvet Morning. Those are very different sounds.
But that's what makes it so wonderful, that we were all capable, and especially Nancy, of pulling it off. You just don't do that.
That's why I get so angry still at the one-hit wonder label. Makes me so mad.
It's just not true. I mean, it's technically not true and it's artistically not true.
There's no one in this world needs me. There's never gonna be. And yet sometimes in my dreams I hear
Sundown, I miss you, sundown. I need you, sundown. Come on, come on, come on, come on back to me. Come on, come on, come on, come on back to me. To Texas, I followed you to Utah.
we didn't find it there.
Didn't Elvis have a favorite Nancy and Lee song?
He used to play, one night I was at his house and he played Elusive Dreams he loved. He liked the big build. Oh, you're tired of following. He liked that part. He used to play that over and over.
Oh.
I know you're tired of following my elusive dreams and schemes.
Loneliness is nothing new. I've lived with it my whole life through. So look out, gloom. I'm making room for happy. Through with
You were still making great records, as were the Beach Boys in the late 60s, but you were almost seen as like an earlier generation of music.
They didn't have time for prettiness and sweetness and fun. It was all
It became an angry
drama.
It became angry, and you can't. You say, well, you got to go with the flow. No, you don't have to go with the flow. You still have to live your life, and you still have to go on with what you think is right, even though if somebody else doesn't. You still have to have something in yourself that's going to be satisfying. Otherwise, you can't live with it. You get the hell out of the business, and go do something else. But that's it's a thankless thing that we all do, because the rejection that you get is terrible.
It's awful.
But the satisfaction you do get almost eliminates the rejection completely. Not quite, but almost. It almost gets rid of it. When you have the success from something that you're happy with. Oscar Peterson, the piano player, once said something that I'll never forget. He says, you can be happy with something, but don't ever be satisfied. It's kind of interesting.
always do better.
Sure.
There's something pretty in a summer rainbow.
Are there any songs that you recorded or released that you felt like really should have been a hit, but they just didn't get the play?
Probably everyone I ever recorded, yeah. But without label support, which means money, pushing, taking ads, getting played on the radio and that sort of thing, they just die. And so many of them, the Mickey Mouse songs were really good. The Highway Song was good.
All those years we played all marvelous arrangers that you had doing stuff for you and songwriters. I think one of my favorites of all time was done by Larry Mahobrak for, I think it was Arkansas Coal.
Arkansas Coal. That's Lee's crowning glory.
It wasn't easy to play. It was a hard thing for everybody.
It was a suite. He called it the Arkansas Coal Suite.
It's one of my favorite all times.
It's a great piece of music.
And I would watch her get on, and she couldn't perform it all the time because you would get so emotional on that song.
That one and Down from Dover were
yes,
my
another one.
Achilles heels. I just couldn't handle it.
Sure. But I remember playing that the very first time I played that. I went, oh my God, I can't play this. I had to really take my time and sit down. And I remember the guitar players had to do that also.
They had to make those rocks
chords
falling.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It was good.
The sound of my daddy digging Arkansas coal.
The emotion that it takes out of you too, because you're giving. She never did anything 30%. It was always 100% or more. This is important. It's important enough. I don't care if it's the worst song in the world. You're going to get my 100% for that song.
It got harder once
sure.
we got into the Neil Diamond stuff.
Sure.
It got more and more difficult, but it had to be done. The big ones like Maybe I'm Amazed and Holly Holy, and those gigantic Neil Diamond tracks.
We did Holly Holy. The biggest ovation that I can remember was when we did it at Universal Amphitheater.
It was huge.
Gigantic. I mean, and the people it was like the whole place was singing with her at the very end. But that chart kept building and building.
It was beautiful.
Good one.
Well, I asked Neil, he came to the show one night, and afterwards I said, what do you think? Because it really mattered to me that he liked Holly Holy. And he said, this is all he said, when you get there, stay there. That's all he said. When you get there, stay there, which I apparently did not do.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool? When you get there, stay there.
What the fuck does he mean?
Yeah, I know.
You know what he means.
I guess so.
Don't let it slip.
Yeah.
One for you and one for me, but one and one hardly comes to three.
Today, anyone can make a record on a laptop or a cell phone, but the way that you all made these records in the 60s...
They can't.
Like, to someone who doesn't know, how would you describe the process that you had in the 1960s?
Air.
There you go. Room ambiance. There was something, like when you play the piano or play a guitar and you strum it or you strike a chord, there are harmonics that go through the air, that float and intermingle with each other. Where I don't care if the guitar player is sitting 20 feet from you, it's still in the air, it's in that room. And that combination of the harmonics of all of that, whereas today you play it and it stops, it's digital.
It's a wall.
It hits the wall, and there's none of that magic that can happen harmonically because of the way things happen.
Yeah, no ambiance.
There you go. It's so
Nothing.
important.
Just dead.
Wouldn't you like to have a nickel for how many times somebody made a mistake? And you say, oh, what was that? That was better than what we had originally. And you wind up, that becomes the force of something, in the record, the magic. It's all part of it. Because it was live. We were in a room together.
Kinky love, kinky, I'm mad about your kinky love. I need you so bad, I need your kinky love.
You know what I enjoy is the reproduction of all these now. I think the sound you guys are getting on Light in the Attic is fantastic. You're not taking away anything from any of the albums, and it sounds as good, if not better.
Well, it's wonderful, especially when young people come in.
I've never been as happy as I was that morning. That morning, we walked along the beach, a little like this one.
Is there anything in your career that you always wanted to accomplish that you're still hoping to, or?
It was that rare kind of autumn that you only find in North America.
I think we should need to do one more live performance.
But it was quite simple.
Don's gonna keep asking as long as.
You never know. You might wake up one day and say, let's do it.
I remember very well.
No.
In your hat, buddy.
Well, I can dream.
An eternity.
All you have to do is sit there and work your fingers. I have
my
the hard job.
Will you still be loving me when the summer is gone?
We hope you enjoyed this episode of our podcast. The Nancy Sinatra Archive series is available on vinyl, CD, and digital at lightintheattic.net and at all fine record shops around the globe. Light in the Attic sends a big thanks to Nancy, Don, and of course Hunter for putting together this great episode. And thank you for listening. This and all episodes of the Light in the Attic podcast are available wherever you listen to podcasts. For more info, visit lightintheattic.net.
But it is as if I were there now, and I think of you.